Yuki Kawamura isn't your average basketball player. Standing at 5'11", he's already up against the skyscrapers of the NBA. But last night, Kawamura did something that shook the hardwood and set the league buzzing in a way that even towering 7-footers rarely manage. Kawamura, with his unassuming frame and quiet, methodical demeanor, pulled off a move that seemed plucked straight from a basketball myth. The crowd had just settled in, expecting another typical NBA game, yet what they witnessed instead was the artistry of an underdog with a point to prove. Kawamura played like a character pulled from an anime epic, small, determined, and capable of moves that seemed like they defied physics. He was here to play, but more importantly, he was here to surprise everyone in the arena, from seasoned fans to elite veterans. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Kawamura's first moment of shock came early in the game. He caught the ball just outside the three-point line, facing off against a defender nearly a foot taller than him. He didn't look intimidated. In fact, he looked almost bored. As the defender lunged, Yuki executed a quick step back, giving himself just enough space to launch a three. And then, in a moment that felt like slow motion, the ball swished cleanly through the net. The crowd erupted. Kawamura's shot had hit nothing but net, leaving his opponent staring in disbelief. This was only the beginning. His three-point shot was fluid, effortless, and loaded with an audacity that most rookies wouldn't dare. Yuki was not interested in playing it safe. He wanted to rewrite the rulebook. As the game wore on, Kawamura revealed his full arsenal. He weaved through defenders like water slipping through cracks, dribbling low and fast, staying just out of reach. Watching him was like watching a master chef prepare a dish without looking down at his hands. It was instinctive and precise, a rhythm that felt natural only to him. Each time he drove to the basket, there was a collective intake of breath from the audience, a mix of hope and disbelief. He had a way of twisting his body midair, flipping the ball up in wild arcs that seemed destined to miss, except they didn't. Over and over, he landed these improbable shots. Even his opponents, some of whom had played for years in the league, seemed half amused, half shocked. One play in particular will be replayed endlessly: Kawamura's crossover against a top defensive guard. With his opponent's eyes fixed on him, he made a subtle move, shifting his weight just enough to sell the feint. Then, in a blink, he switched directions, leaving the defender stumbling. Kawamura drove forward, then pulled up for a floater just beyond the reach of the help defense. It was the kind of move that happens in gym practice, not in an NBA game. But there it was, and Kawamura had made it look like he'd been doing it all his life. As the ball floated through the hoop, Kawamura gave a quick nod, an understated acknowledgement of the crowd's cheers. He wasn't cocky, just quietly confident in his ability to shake up the expected narrative. What's captivating about Kawamura is his style, which is both old school and cutting edge. He brings a blend of traditional skills mixed with a new age flair that has players and fans alike reevaluating what they thought was possible in the game. Kawamura didn't come into the NBA with the reputation of a flashy showman, but his performance that night flipped perceptions upside down. Here was a player who didn't tower over his opponents, who didn't boast insane athleticism, but who had the heart, the vision, and crucially the smarts to play the game his way. Kawamura's playmaking was cerebral, a chess game where he always seemed to be 3 moves ahead. Watching him dissect the defense was like watching a seasoned general orchestrate a battle. He saw openings that others missed, paths to the basket invisible to everyone else. There was a moment late in the game when Kawamura had the chance to pass to an open teammate. A rookie would have swung the ball, showing that he could play the team game, but Yuki held onto it. He took a quick look at his defender, who seemed ready to pounce, and then drove toward the hoop with a burst of speed that was almost startling. As he got to the paint, he pulled off a wild behind-the-back move, throwing off his opponent's balance before slipping the ball up for another perfect shot. It was a daring decision, but it paid off, reinforcing the idea that Kawamura wasn't here to follow the usual rookie script. He wasn't about proving he could fit in. He was about showing that he could make the game conform to his own style. Kawamura's play has a confidence that doesn't feel rehearsed. It's as if he's making it up as he goes along, relying on his instincts, his sharp mind, and a hint of recklessness that keeps things interesting. This approach is why fans and analysts have started talking about him as a player who could redefine the role of the modern point guard. Unlike players who have towering frames and wingspans that seem engineered for the NBA, Kawamura's strength lies in his creativity and his refusal to back down. In a league often dominated by physical specimens, here was a smaller, unassuming player showing that pure skill and intelligence could still shake up the game. On the sidelines, his teammates watched with expressions that ranged from amusement to awe. It's rare for a new player to captivate a veteran roster, but Kawamura's unpredictability was a magnet. Teammates and coaches often exchanged looks as if to say, "Did he just do that?" Some even chuckled to themselves, marveling at how Kawamura was pulling off plays they hadn't seen in years, if ever. His audacity on the court was contagious, bringing a liveliness to the bench and a new energy that felt refreshing. He wasn't the loudest in the locker room, nor did he spend time hyping himself up. Instead, he let his game speak for him. Fans, too, picked up on this aura. Watching Kawamura was like seeing a magician at work, each play like another spell from a bag of tricks. He had this way of pulling off the unexpected, and every time he got the ball, there was an unspoken understanding in the stands that something interesting was about to happen. Yuki's approach is something the league hasn't quite seen, and that night he proved that a player doesn't need to fit the traditional NBA mold to be effective. In fact, Kawamura was proving that maybe the mold itself needed to change. His play reminded everyone that there's more than one way to dominate a game. The implications of Kawamura's breakout performance go beyond the spectacle of a single game. For years, the league has been heavily focused on physical attributes: height, speed, wingspan. Kawamura's game challenges that narrative. He doesn't play because he's the fastest or the tallest. He plays because he can see things that others don't, and he moves with a creativity that catches even the savviest defenders off guard. Coaches and scouts watching from afar will likely reevaluate their criteria. Maybe the next great player isn't the biggest or the fastest. Maybe he's the one who, like Kawamura, can create something out of nothing. After that game, Kawamura didn't give a grand speech or pump his fists in a show of victory. He simply walked back to the locker room, looking slightly tired but unbothered. The crowd was still buzzing, the arena electric with chatter, but Kawamura seemed almost untouched by it all. It was as if he had done what he came to do, and now it was time to go home. There's a certain charm to his understated approach, and it's part of why fans are rallying behind him so strongly. He doesn't act like he's shocked by his own abilities. He just plays, and somehow that makes him even more fascinating. The buzz following Kawamura's game isn't just about his moves on the court. It's about what he represents. Here is a player who's defying conventions and proving that skills honed through determination and creativity can stand up against the physicality of the modern NBA. Young fans, especially those who don't fit the typical basketball build, see Kawamura as a kind of hero. He's living proof that there's no one way to succeed. His success feels earned, built on a foundation of practice, wit, and a genuine love for the game. In the days after the game, basketball forums and social media threads exploded with theories and analyses. People dissected Kawamura's moves, his angles, his approach to the game. Some argued that he's paving the way for a new era of point guards, while others cautioned against jumping to conclusions too quickly. But everyone agreed on one thing: Kawamura had introduced a refreshing unpredictability to the NBA. Analysts scratched their heads, trying to decide how defenses should handle a player who played like he'd written his own rulebook. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.